The vastness of space had always been a reminder of humanity's insignificance in the grand cosmic order. For centuries, Earth had been looked upon as nothing more than a primitive rock, floating aimlessly in the void. But this ignorance was about to be shattered by the cold, calculated forces of the Galactic Empire, one of the most advanced and powerful factions in the universe. They had conquered countless worlds, wiped out entire civilizations, and crushed any who dared to stand in their way. Yet, in their arrogance, they underestimated the most dangerous thing in the galaxy: humanity. The flagship of the Galactic Empire, known as Valkyrie, a massive, imposing ship with dark, gleaming hulls, glided silently through the stars, flanked by a fleet of nearly 20 other warships. The Valkyrie itself was the symbol of the Empire's might, equipped with the latest weaponry, shields, and advanced AI systems. The fleet was on a mission to destroy Earth. They believed the primitive humans would pose no threat to them. Earth, in their eyes, was simply a resource to be harvested. The Empire's leaders, the Supreme Council, had decided that the time had come to claim this world for themselves, to harvest its resources, and to ensure no uprising could threaten their control over the galaxy. Inside the war room of the Valkyrie, the commanders of the fleet gathered. They spoke in calm, confident tones as they discussed their plans to annihilate Earth. Their strategy was simple: an all-out assault, overwhelming Earth's meager defenses with their advanced weapons and technology. "Earth won't even know what hit them," said one of the commanders, a cold, calculating officer named Admiral Krail. He grinned, confident that this would be just another easy conquest for the Empire. "Our AI will disable their communication systems before they can even respond," he added. The Supreme Council, located on a distant planet in the Empire's heart, approved the plan. Earth had been nothing more than a blip on their radar, a planet far below their level of concern. They had no idea that the fate of their empire was about to change forever. But as the Valkyrie neared Earth, a strange occurrence took place. An anomaly appeared on their sensors. At first, it seemed like a glitch, a disturbance caused by the gravitational pull of nearby stars, or perhaps the interference of some unknown cosmic phenomenon. However, as the data was analyzed, it became clear that this was no ordinary anomaly. It was something much more disturbing. A cloaked fleet had been detected in Earth's orbit, a fleet so ancient that no one, not even the Empire's most advanced historians, had any record of it. The scanners barely registered its presence. It was as if the ships had been hiding in plain sight for centuries. "Impossible," muttered Admiral Krail as he reviewed the data. "This cannot be. Earth should not have a fleet like this." The Imperial officers exchanged uneasy glances. The idea of a hidden fleet from Earth, particularly one so old, was absurd. How could a planet like Earth, which they believed to be little more than a backwater world, possibly have such advanced technology? But the readings were undeniable. This fleet, whatever it was real. It had been dormant for centuries, waiting for the right moment to awaken. As Krail and his officers debated what to do next, a sudden signal came through, cutting off their conversation. It was a distress signal, a signal from one of the alien probes that had been sent to monitor Earth's orbit. The probe had found something more, something that should not exist. The mysterious fleet had activated. "What is this?" Krail muttered. His voice wavered, uncertainty creeping in. The Empire's military superiority had never been challenged. Yet here they were, faced with something they couldn't explain, something that threatened to undo all their plans. The tension was palpable in the control room of the Valkyrie. The fleet commanders quickly initiated a full scan, hoping to uncover the origin of this mysterious fleet. As the scan completed, the readings confirmed their worst fears. The cloaked ships were not just some forgotten relics. They were dreadnoughts, ancient warships from a long-forgotten era of human conflict. They were equipped with weapons far beyond anything the Galactic Empire had ever encountered. They had been hidden in Earth's orbit for centuries, biding their time. And now, that time had come. The Empire had no idea what they were up against, but the more they searched, the clearer it became. These dreadnoughts were more advanced than any ship they had in their fleet. They were cloaked, their presence nearly undetectable. They had technology that the Empire had long lost. The very idea of these ships, hidden for centuries, defied logic. "What are they?" Admiral Crail asked, his voice trembling now with a hint of fear. "How is this possible?" Just as he was about to order a deeper scan, another signal came through, this time from one of the dreadnoughts themselves. It was a massive surge of power, the ships coming online, their weapons systems powering up in perfect synchronization. For the first time in the history of the Empire, they were facing an unknown enemy, one that had been lying in wait, and they had no idea what kind of destruction they could unleash. The Galactic Empire had underestimated Earth. They had believed the humans to be weak, their technology primitive, their defenses laughable. But now, they were forced to confront the reality. Earth's ancient fleet was no joke. The dreadnoughts were far more powerful than they could have ever imagined, and they had been lying in wait, ready to strike. The Valkyrie and its fleet continued their approach to Earth, but the closer they got, the more ominous the situation became. The dreadnoughts slowly powered up, revealing their towering forms. Massive energy shields flickered to life, their weapons charging. The once silent and hidden fleet was now awake, and it was preparing to show the Galactic Empire just how wrong they were to underestimate Earth. "This is impossible," Admiral Crail shouted, his confidence quickly slipping away. He had been so certain of the Empire's superiority. But now, facing this unknown threat, he realized the truth. Earth was not the weak planet they had thought it was. This anomaly was not just a glitch or a minor inconvenience. It was a message, a warning. The dreadnoughts were awake, and they were ready for battle. As the Valkyrie and its fleet drew closer to Earth, the first shot rang out from one of the ancient dreadnoughts, a beam of pure energy that lit up the blackness of space. The Empire's ships scrambled to defend themselves, but it was already too late. The dreadnoughts had revealed their power, and the Empire had no choice but to face the consequences of their arrogance. The suspense was thick in the air. What would the Empire do now? Would they retreat, or would they continue their assault, unaware of the sheer force they were about to encounter? All these questions hung in the balance as Earth's ancient fleet made its presence known, ready to defend the planet it had sworn to protect for centuries. The Valkyrie was about to learn a hard lesson. Earth was not to be underestimated. The stillness of space was shattered by a sudden, violent surge of energy. Earth's ancient dreadnought fleet, long hidden in the quiet shadows of the cosmos, had come to life. For centuries, they had lain dormant, cloaked and concealed, their weapons and engines cold and silent. But now, as the Imperial fleet drew closer to Earth, they awoke with a resounding roar of power. The dreadnoughts, ancient battleships older than the Galactic Empire itself, emerged from their cloaking fields, their massive forms slowly materializing in the vacuum of space. These ships were not like any the Empire had ever seen. Their hulls gleamed with the residue of an era long past, adorned with technology that defied everything the Empire had come to know. The ships were vast, with towering structures and sleek, almost organic shapes, and their weapon systems were powered by the forgotten science of humanity's earliest days of interstellar warfare. The Valkyrie and its fleet came to a screeching halt, the commanders on board frozen in disbelief as they watched the dreadnoughts emerge. These were no simple warships. The dreadnoughts were equipped with gravity cannons, particle disruptors, and ion shields, weapons and technologies far beyond anything the Empire had developed. The sight of these ships, ancient and powerful, filled the Empire's officers with dread. Admiral Crail, his confidence shattered, watched as the dreadnoughts powered up, their engines roaring to life. His hand shook as he ordered his fleet to fall into formation, but it was clear that the situation had already escalated beyond his control. "Launch the scouts," he commanded, desperate to gauge the strength of these new enemies. The scouts, small but fast ships used by the Empire to gather intel and weaken enemy defenses, were launched toward Earth's atmosphere, prepared to begin their attack. But before they could even reach the planet's surface, the dreadnoughts reacted. With terrifying precision, the massive battleships unleashed gravity blasts that sent shockwaves through the very fabric of space. The scouts never stood a chance. The Empire's fleet, once so confident in their superiority, was now facing an enemy unlike any they had encountered before. The first scout ship was obliterated in an instant, shattered by the gravity blasts. The others followed, each one consumed by energy blasts so powerful they could tear through space itself. An intense space battle erupted in an instant. The dreadnoughts, with their unmatched speed and firepower, moved into position, and the sky above Earth lit up with fiery explosions and beams of energy. It was chaos, an all-out war that no one had expected. The Empire's ships launched counterattacks, but they were no match for the ancient power of the dreadnoughts. The battleships' ion shields absorbed the Empire's weapons with ease, while their particle disruptors tore through the Empire's defenses like paper. The sight was unimaginable. Huge alien warships were reduced to nothing but debris as devastating blasts from the dreadnoughts exploded across the battlefield. One after another, the Empire's ships were obliterated by the sheer force of the ancient fleet's weapons. But the battle was far from over. Despite the overwhelming odds, the humans, using their advanced tactics and surprising ingenuity, were holding their ground. The dreadnoughts had given them an edge, but it wasn't an easy victory. As massive orbital bombardments rained down on the Imperial fleet, it became clear that this battle was far from one-sided. The humans fought with a fierce determination that no one had expected. Their ships, though smaller, fought with such intensity and strategy that they were able to create openings in the Empire's ranks. It wasn't just about the power of the dreadnoughts. It was about the will of the humans to survive. These were not just soldiers. They were defenders of their home. As the Empire's warships were decimated by waves of fire and debris, the humans pushed forward, using their superior knowledge of their home planet's terrain to gain the upper hand. The Empire's fleet, once so confident, was now on the defensive, their tactics no match for the unpredictable nature of Earth's fight for survival. For every blow the humans took, they dealt two in return. The dreadnoughts, with their centuries of advanced technology, weren't invincible. While the Empire's fleet had been caught off guard by the sudden appearance of these ancient warships, they quickly adapted, coordinating their attacks with an intensity that caught even the humans by surprise. The Empire's forces launched relentless laser barrages, trying to break through the dreadnoughts' defenses, but the humans countered with their own tactics. Some of Earth's ships moved in close to engage in close-quarters combat, dodging enemy fire and striking from unexpected angles. The space around them became a blur of explosions, laser fire, and debris. The Empire's dreadnought-class ships were formidable, but the humans, though outmatched in terms of numbers and raw firepower, fought with a resourcefulness born of necessity. They knew their planet, they understood the environment, and they used it to their advantage. The gravity cannons of the dreadnoughts tore into enemy ships, sending them flying apart, while ion shields deflected incoming energy blasts. Yet even the Empire's superior technology couldn't anticipate the resilience of the humans, who fought back with everything they had. There was an unexpected twist. Humans, often seen as the underdogs, were beginning to push the Empire's forces back. Every time the Imperial fleet thought they had the upper hand, Earth's dreadnoughts retaliated with force. The sight of human ships tearing through space, battling against overwhelming odds, sent shockwaves through the Empire. They had expected a simple conquest, but what they faced now was an entirely different kind of enemy, one that was determined to protect its home at all costs. The visual spectacle of the battle was unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. Ships of all sizes were engaged in a deadly dance, flashing through the void of space, their weapons lighting up the darkness. The dreadnoughts unleashed a series of devastating orbital bombardments, while the Empire retaliated with ion blasts that shook the heavens. Close-quarters combat took place in the heart of the battle, where smaller ships engaged in dangerous maneuvers, avoiding direct hits as they struck at the Empire's larger vessels. The void of space was filled with the fire and fury of war. At the edge of the battle, it was clear that the humans were fighting not just for survival, but for something much deeper. A chance to show the universe that Earth was not just a primitive planet. Earth was a place of resilience, strength, and untapped potential. The humans were proving, in real time, that they could stand against even the mightiest forces in the galaxy. Despite being outmatched, despite the overwhelming power of the Galactic Empire, humans were fighting for their home with a kind of unyielding resolve that could not be measured in mere firepower. They were fighting with everything they had, against the odds, against expectations, and against an enemy that never should have underestimated them. The battle raged on, and as the tide began to turn, it was becoming clear that the humans were not just surviving. They were on the verge of victory. The Empire's ships were slowly being overwhelmed, their once confident commanders scrambling to adapt. The Dreadnoughts had given the humans the edge, but it was the humans' fighting spirit, their courage, their unwillingness to back down, that had made all the difference. And with every passing moment, the odds shifted just a little more in their favor. The battle raged on in the vast expanse of space, a chaotic symphony of destruction. The once proud Empire, now facing defeat, was desperately trying to regain control. But Earth's resistance was stronger than they had ever anticipated. And at the heart of this resistance stood Captain Bonner, the leader of Earth's fleet. His face was a mask of grit and determination, though beneath the surface, he was struggling to contain the deep sorrow gnawing at him. Bonner had seen his comrades fall, some of his closest friends, those who had fought alongside him in countless missions, now lost forever. The weight of their deaths hung heavy in his chest, but he refused to let it show. His men needed him to remain strong, to lead them to victory, no matter the cost. As another explosion rocked the ship, Bonner's gaze flickered to the monitor in front of him, where the faces of his officers were bathed in the red glow of the battle's chaos. He could see the strain in their eyes, the worry, but he also saw something else. Resolve. They weren't giving up. They were humans, and they fought for survival. For Earth. The Empire had underestimated them, but now it was their turn to make the final blow. Then a chilling message from Earth's command center crackled through the comms. The Empire had deployed its eye-controlled fleet, an advanced force designed to eliminate Earth's resistance once and for all. These ships, controlled by highly intelligent algorithms, would be relentless and precise. The Empire's AIs could think faster than any human, could analyze any battle scenario in seconds, and could adapt instantly to any change in the situation. This was a force that no one, not even the mighty Dreadnoughts, had yet faced. Bonner's heart skipped a beat. The stakes had never been higher. The battle against the Empire's human fleet had been hard enough, but now they were facing an enemy that could think and react at the speed of light. How could they possibly win? His officers exchanged worried glances. Eye supremacy had always been a significant advantage for the Empire, and now they would experience it firsthand. But Bonner refused to back down. If Earth was going to survive, they would need to adapt, and they would need to do so quickly. With a deep breath, he gave the orders. "Prepare the cloaking devices and deploy the decoys," he said, his voice steady despite the panic that lurked beneath. "Jamming signals online in 5 minutes. We're not going to fight them head-on. We're going to trick them." The room was filled with a buzz of activity as the crew scrambled to execute Bonner's orders. The cloaking devices were powered up, making their ships invisible to the Empire's advanced sensors. The decoys were deployed, false signals sent out into space, designed to confuse the eye-controlled fleet into targeting the wrong locations. And then, the jamming systems kicked in, sending out powerful interference signals to block the eye's communications and disrupt their control. The Empire's AI fleet was formidable, But humans had something that machines could never understand: creativity. The humans fought with intuition, with unpredictability, and with the knowledge that sometimes the most effective weapon was the one the enemy couldn't anticipate. As the battle unfolded, the Empire's AI fleet, disoriented and unable to communicate effectively, began to falter. Their precision-based attacks became erratic, and the humans took full advantage of it. Bonner watched with a growing sense of satisfaction as their decoys and jamming signals threw the AI fleet into disarray. The humans didn't have the firepower of the Empire's advanced warships, but they had something just as valuable: resourcefulness. As the AI fleet became more confused, Earth's remaining ships launched a counterattack. The Dreadnoughts, with their ancient weapons and superior technology, moved into position, flanked by smaller human ships that used the confusion to get close to the Empire's AI-controlled vessels. The battle turned into a high-speed, close-range dogfight. Ships darted through space, evading laser blasts and energy missiles. The human fleet, despite their technological disadvantages, adapted quickly, exploiting the AI's weakness. Using every trick in the book, from sudden tactical maneuvers to fake signals and unexpected attacks, the humans kept the Empire's fleet off balance. It wasn't enough to defeat them outright, but it was enough to slow them down, enough to give the humans a fighting chance. Then, the unexpected happened. Earth's AI specialists, working from the command center, had managed to hack into the Empire's AI system. It was a desperate move, but it worked. For a few precious seconds, the human fleet was able to temporarily take control of several of the AI-controlled warships. The Empire's ships, once cold and mechanical, now followed human commands, attacking their own fleet in a shocking reversal of fortune. The results were devastating. The Empire's ships, unable to regain control of their systems, fired on one another, tearing through their ranks with the same ferocity they had once directed at Earth. It was chaos, a war within a war. The humans, with their hacked ships, moved in for the kill, striking at the now vulnerable Imperial fleet. Bonner watched as one of the Empire's flagship warships, once a symbol of their unmatched power, was torn apart by its own AI-controlled weapons. It was a victory, but a bittersweet one. His heart was heavy with the knowledge that many more battles would need to be fought before this war could be won. The humans weren't just fighting for their survival anymore. They were fighting for their independence, their freedom, and the future of their world. And as Bonner looked around at his crew, he saw the same fire in their eyes, the same unwavering determination. The Empire had underestimated them, and now they were paying the price. But there was still more to do. The Empire's counterattack had been brutal, and although the humans had gained a temporary advantage, they knew the final victory was far from certain. The AI fleet, though disoriented, was still a formidable force, and the Empire's leadership would soon realize that their automated forces had been compromised. They would adapt. They would fight back. Bonner knew the next phase of the battle would require even more sacrifice. Earth's fleet was dwindling, and the Empire's reinforcements were already on their way. But in that moment, as Bonner stood in the command center of his ship, watching his men prepare for the next wave of attacks, he felt something he hadn't felt in a long time: hope. The humans weren't just fighting to survive. They were fighting to prove that against all odds, they could stand tall, even against an enemy as overwhelming as the Empire. And that was something the Empire had never counted on. As the battle continued to rage, Bonner's thoughts shifted to the heart of the conflict: the Empire's AI supremacy. He knew that confronting this power head-on would be the key to victory, and with a grim determination, he made a silent vow to his fallen comrades. Earth would win this war, no matter the cost. The cold vacuum of space stretched infinitely before them. As the battle between Earth and the Empire reached its boiling point, Captain Bonner stood at the helm of the remaining human fleet, his eyes scanning the star-filled sky. His heart was heavy with the weight of responsibility. The humans had fought valiantly, but the Empire's advanced fleet, powered by AI technology, was pushing forward relentlessly. Every ship Earth had left in its arsenal had been tested, and yet the Empire remained unyielding. Bonner knew that Earth's survival now depended on one final desperate act. The Fortress Valor, one of Earth's largest and most powerful dreadnoughts, stood as humanity's last line of defense. The ship was a massive behemoth, bristling with weaponry, shields, and firepower that could rival even the most advanced alien fleets. It had once been a symbol of hope and pride, but now it was humanity's last hope against the Empire's overwhelming forces. The ship's crew had fought alongside Bonner for years, and they were prepared to make the ultimate sacrifice. But the decision that Bonner had to make was not easy. As he paced the command deck of the Fortress Valor, Bonner's mind raced. They had already lost so many, and their resources were nearly exhausted. The remaining Imperial fleet had grown stronger, more resilient, and their AI forces were adapting faster than the humans could react. He knew the next wave of attacks would be their last. Either Earth would fall, or they would find a way to break the Empire's iron grip on the galaxy. Bonner had been at the heart of countless battles, but none had weighed so heavily on him as this one. The Empire's flagship, an imposing warship surrounded by a fleet of elite destroyers, loomed on the horizon. It was now or never. He knew that unless they took drastic action, Earth would be crushed under the Empire's boot, and humanity's future would be wiped out in an instant. The decision came like a thunderclap. The Fortress Valor would charge into the heart of the Empire's flagship formation and use its self-destruct sequence to annihilate as many of the enemy ships as possible. It was a suicide mission, but it was the only option left. Bonner had already lost so much: friends, comrades, and countless ships. This last act, this final sacrifice, could be the turning point. It could give the human fleet a chance to win. Bonner stood in front of the massive holographic projection of the battlefield. The Fortress Valor was already primed and ready for its mission. He turned to his officers, his face grim but determined. "This is it. This is how we win." His voice was steady, but the weight of the moment was felt by everyone on the bridge. One by one, the officers nodded in silent agreement. They knew what had to be done. The crew of the Fortress Valor had always been a family, and now they were going to give everything for their home. They had fought together, and they would die together, but they would make the Empire pay. The order was given. The Fortress Valor began its final approach to the Empire's flagship. The massive warship, though damaged, was still a formidable presence, and it seemed to shimmer with malevolent energy as it moved into position. The Empire's fleet turned its attention toward the Fortress Valor, but it was too late. Bonner had already initiated the self-destruct sequence. As the massive ship sped toward the heart of the enemy fleet, Bonner could feel his heart pounding in his chest. The tension was unbearable. He glanced at the crew, his eyes meeting theirs in a silent exchange of understanding. They were about to face the most terrifying and heroic battle of their lives. There was no turning back. The Fortress Valor closed the distance, and the first barrage of enemy fire erupted around them. The shields of the massive dreadnought flickered and strained under the onslaught, but it kept moving forward, driven by the unwavering determination of its crew. The explosion of energy around them was blinding, but Bonner's gaze remained fixed on their target. The Empire's flagship was within reach. He could almost taste victory in the air. Then the countdown began. The ship's engines roared as the Fortress Valor propelled itself toward the heart of the enemy fleet. The self-destruct mechanism was set to go off in a matter of seconds. Bonner's hands tightened around the controls. He knew what was coming. He could only pray that the sacrifice would be enough. The human fleet was depending on it. With a deafening crash, the Fortress Valor collided with one of the Empire's largest warships, triggering a massive explosion. The shockwaves rippled through space, tearing apart the surrounding ships. For a moment, everything seemed to freeze, time itself holding its breath as the devastation unfolded. The Fortress Valor erupted in a glorious blaze, the blast bright enough to light up the entire star system. The force of the explosion obliterated everything in its path. Imperial ships were torn apart, their advanced shields no match for the sheer destructive power of the Dreadnought's self-destruct sequence. The explosion sent shockwaves throughout the battlefield, destroying not only the Empire's flagship, but also a large portion of its remaining fleet. The sight was both breathtaking and tragic. The cosmos was set ablaze with the fire of the explosion, the stars dimming in the wake of the fiery destruction. The Fortress Valor, a ship that had once symbolized humanity's might, was no more. And yet, in its final moments, it had delivered a blow to the Empire that would echo throughout the galaxy. Bonner and his crew had given everything, but the price had been steep. Back on Earth, the remaining human fleet watched in awe as the explosion illuminated the sky. They knew that the sacrifice of the Fortress Valor would not be in vain. The Empire's fleet had been severely weakened. The humans, now filled with a new sense of hope and determination, prepared for the final push. The explosion had shifted the balance of power. It was a victory, but it came at a tremendous cost. Captain Bonner and the crew of the Fortress Valor had given everything for the survival of humanity. Their names would be etched into the history books, their sacrifice forever remembered. But as the human fleet began to regroup, it was clear that the Empire would not back down so easily. The fight was far from over, but the humans had shown the galaxy what they were capable of. Earth had risen to face its enemies, and it would not fall. The battle for survival had entered its final phase, and the Empire would soon learn that humanity was a force unlike any they had ever encountered. The shockwaves from the explosion continued to ripple through space, but as the Fortress Valor faded into the distance, its crew's sacrifice had lit a fire in the hearts of every human soldier. They were no longer the underdogs. They were the warriors of Earth, and they would fight to the last breath. The sound of distant explosions echoed through the void of space as Earth's fleet regrouped. The battle had been long, brutal, and had taken a heavy toll, but it was clear, against all odds, humanity had emerged victorious. The Empire's flagship, the Valkyrie, the heart of their massive war machine, had retreated in panic. The once feared fleet of the Galactic Empire had been driven back, its pride shattered. The Fortress Valor's self-sacrifice had turned the tide, and Earth's forces had seized the moment to push back the invaders. Humanity had held its ground, and for the first time in a long while, there was a sense of triumph. However, as the humans celebrated their hard-earned victory, there was a lingering shadow hanging over them. The excitement of the moment was tinged with a deep, gnawing uncertainty. While the Empire had been repelled for now, it was far from a definitive end. Humanity had proven that they could stand against the galaxy's most powerful empire, but they had also seen the brutal reality of the cost of that victory. In the heart of Earth's command ship, Admiral Thompson stood before a large holographic display. He could see the retreat of the Valkyrie, its retreat marked by the trailing ships in its wake. The Empire was withdrawing, but it wasn't fleeing. It was regrouping, reorganizing. The Empire would not simply forget the humiliation it had faced. Thompson knew this was just the beginning. The battle might be over for now, but the war was far from won. Back on Earth, celebrations erupted in every major city. Humanity had done the impossible, and people all over the world came together in joyous rallies and cheers. The defeat of the Empire's fleet was a monumental achievement, something that no one had believed possible. The ancient technologies of Earth's Dreadnought fleet, long hidden away and thought to be outdated, had proven to be the key to holding off the Empire's overwhelming forces. The battle was a triumph for humanity's ingenuity and resilience, but it was not without its cost. The Fortress Valor was gone, its crew sacrificed to bring the war to this point. The loss of so many good men and women weighed heavily on every soldier who had fought in the battle. They had won, yes, but at what cost? Thousands of lives had been lost, and the Empire's fleet was not defeated. It had simply been pushed back. It would be back, stronger, more prepared, and angrier than ever before. At the same time, there was another side to this victory. The supreme commander of the Galactic Empire, a cold and calculating figure known only as Darius, watched the retreat unfold from his command center aboard the Valkyrie. He stood silently, his expression unreadable, as the last of his ships disappeared into the deep reaches of space. He was not a man given to emotional outbursts, but even he could not ignore the crushing blow to the Empire's pride. Though the Empire had been forced to retreat, Darius understood the gravity of the situation. He had watched Earth's old, forgotten Dreadnought fleet rise from the depths, its technology far more advanced than anything the Empire had ever encountered. The tactics of Earth's fleet, the ingenuity and resilience displayed, were beyond anything the Empire had ever anticipated. It was a humbling moment for the Galactic Empire. But Darius was not one to accept defeat. He turned to his council of advisors, his voice low but filled with resolve. This is not the end. Earth has proven itself formidable, but this war is far from over. The Valkyrie may have retreated today, but we will return with a force unlike anything they have ever seen. The Empire does not forget its losses. We will come back stronger, and this time, Earth will fall. His advisors nodded solemnly, fully aware of the Empire's next steps. They would regroup, reinforce their fleets, and prepare for a second wave. Earth's defenses might have held for now, but the Empire had the resources, the manpower, and the will to return with even greater force. Earth's Dreadnought fleet, though impressive, was not an infinite resource. The ships were old, and their technology, though advanced, had limits. They had won the battle, but would they have the strength to fight again? Meanwhile, back on Earth, the mood was mixed. The people celebrated their hard-won victory, but they also knew that it was far from over. The Empire had been beaten back, but the price of survival had been steep. The loss of the Fortress Valor and the many ships that had fallen during the battle could never be replaced. The human fleet was not invincible. The Empire would return, and Earth's forces would have to prepare for an even more intense battle. But what would Earth do next? Captain Bonner's heroic sacrifice still weighed heavily on the survivors. His name would go down in history as the man who led humanity through the darkest moment of their existence, and the crew of the Fortress Valor would forever be remembered as the heroes who gave everything for their home. The people of Earth would honor their memory, but for those still standing, the war was not over. It had just begun. Humanity's victory had been hard-earned, and there was no time to waste. Earth's fleet needed to recover, regroup, and prepare for the Empire's inevitable return. The Dreadnought fleet, though a symbol of humanity's strength, was not an endless well of power. Earth's ancient technology had been a surprise to the Empire, but humanity knew that they could not rely solely on the ships of the past. To survive, they would need to adapt, to evolve, to push the limits of their technology even further. They needed new weapons, new strategies, and new alliances. Earth's survival depended on it. As the last remnants of the Empire's retreating fleet disappeared from view, Earth's commanders turned their eyes to the future. The battle had been won, but the war was far from over. The Empire would return, and humanity would have to be ready. The ancient Dreadnought fleet had saved them for now, but humanity could not afford to rest on its laurels. The galaxy was a dangerous place, and the Galactic Empire was not going to let Earth's defiance go unanswered. In the coming weeks and months, Earth's top scientists, engineers, and military leaders would come together to forge a new path forward. They would study the technologies they had used to win the battle and look for ways to improve upon them. They would explore new avenues of warfare, from energy weapons to artificial intelligence, and find new ways to counter the Empire's overwhelming firepower. Earth had won the battle, but it had also learned a harsh truth. The galaxy was vast, and they were still a small part of it. The Empire was not their only threat. There were countless other dangers lurking in the stars, waiting for their chance to strike. But the one thing that Earth had proven was that humanity was no longer an underdog. They had stood up to the greatest power in the galaxy and had won. Now they had to prove that they could do it again. And they would for the future of humanity and for the memory of those who had given everything for their home. The battle was over, but the war was just beginning, and Earth would not back down. The war was far from over, but humanity had come a long way since the first blow was struck by the Galactic Empire. The battle had been brutal, and Earth had paid a heavy price, but it had also shown the universe that humanity was not just a species to be overlooked. Earth's fleet, powered by the ancient dreadnoughts, had successfully held off the Empire's overwhelming forces, thanks to the bravery of the soldiers, the ingenuity of Earth's leaders, and the incredible sacrifices made along the way. Now, as the dust of the last battle settled, Earth's leaders gathered to discuss what came next. At the head of Earth's newly formed military council sat Admiral Thompson. His face was worn, his expression heavy with the knowledge of the sacrifices made during the war. Standing beside him was Captain Elena Bonner's brother, Commander John Bonner, a man who had inherited his sister's resolve and tenacity. They stood together, looking out at the view from the command center. Earth's beautiful blue planet hanging in space, scared by war, but stronger for it. "Never again," Admiral Thompson said, his voice firm. "We will never let our guard down. The Empire may have retreated for now, but we all know that they will return, and we must be ready." His words hung in the air, filled with determination and resolve. Earth had won the battle, but the war was still out there, lurking in the depths of space. Commander Bonner nodded solemnly, his thoughts clearly on the legacy of his sister. He had lost family, friends, and comrades in the war, but her memory, her heroism, fueled him now more than ever. Earth's fleet had become a symbol of humanity's resilience, but they had paid a heavy price. It was not just ships and weapons that had been lost. Lives had been given for the survival of the human race. He could feel the weight of that sacrifice pressing down on him as he stared out at the stars. "Captain Bonner's sacrifice will never be forgotten," Bonner said, his voice steady but thick with emotion. "Her courage is why we are all still here today. Her legacy will live on in the fleet we are rebuilding, and in the unity we have forged." As he spoke, the mood in the room shifted. The emotional weight of the war had never been far from anyone's mind, but now there was a sense of pride mixed with sadness. The Dreadnought fleet had been activated, bringing Earth's military might to a new level. These were not just ships, they were a testament to humanity's past, its ingenuity, and its ability to survive against impossible odds. The technology of these ships, ancient as it was now humanity's greatest strength. With their activation, Earth had taken its first steps into a new era, an era where humanity was no longer an underdog, no longer a small, insignificant species on the edge of the galaxy. But the cost of this new strength was evident. As the council members sat together, the ghosts of those lost in battle were felt in every room. The Fortress Valor, the ship that had played such a crucial role in turning the tide of the war, was gone. Its crew, including Captain Bonner herself, had made the ultimate sacrifice. Their names were now etched in history, but for those still alive, their loss was something that could never be erased. The meeting was not just about reflecting on past sacrifices. It was about looking toward the future. Earth had proven its ability to stand tall in the face of adversity, but that victory had not come without cost. If humanity was to ensure its survival, it would need to adapt, evolve, and push beyond what it had achieved in the past. Earth's fleet was powerful, yes, but it was not invincible. The galaxy was vast, and the Empire was only one of many threats. The war with the Empire had been a wake-up call, not just for Earth, but for the entire galaxy. Humanity had emerged from the shadows, and the Empire had learned that Earth would no longer bow to their will. But the real battle was just beginning. "We cannot stop now," Admiral Thompson continued. "We need to be ready for whatever comes next. We've shown them that we can fight. Now we need to show them that we can win. We need new strategies, new technologies, and new allies. We need to continue pushing the limits of our Dreadnought fleet." Commander Bonner stepped forward, his voice filled with the weight of responsibility. "We fought one battle and won, But we all know this is only the beginning. The Empire will return, but so will others. Earth is no longer just a small, insignificant world. We are a force to be reckoned with. We have the power to shape the future, and we will. The room fell silent as everyone absorbed his words. Humanity had won a major victory, but the galaxy was still a dangerous place. The Empire might have retreated, but they were not gone. Other threats lurked in the shadows, waiting for their chance to strike. The only way Earth could continue to survive was by staying vigilant, by continuing to grow stronger, and by learning from the war they had just fought. Despite the challenges ahead, there was a sense of hope in the room. The message from the war was clear. Humanity was no longer weak. The people of Earth had proven that they could stand up to the greatest empire in the galaxy and live to tell the tale. Now they were ready to face whatever else the universe threw at them. They were no longer the underdogs, fighting for survival. They were a force with the power to change the course of history. As the council concluded, a new sense of unity filled the air. The soldiers, the scientists, the engineers, and the leaders, they were all in this together. Earth's survival depended on their ability to continue working as one. They had lost many, but they had gained something even more valuable: the knowledge that they could face any threat and survive. They were a people who would never give up, who would always fight for their future. As Earth's forces prepared for whatever came next, the final scene of the story unfolded. On the horizon of space, a shadow loomed. A fleet, vast and ominous, was approaching Earth's defenses. It was not the Empire this time, but another force, unknown and mysterious. Earth's military was ready, their Dreadnought fleet standing at the ready, their unity stronger than ever. The battle for the galaxy was far from over. The story closed with a chilling message. The war was not finished, and Earth's survival would depend on their ability to adapt, to evolve, and to stay united. Humanity had proven it could win, but the galaxy was still a dangerous place. The next battle would be even harder, but humanity had learned something valuable. They were no longer the weaklings of the galaxy. They were a force to be reckoned with. The final scene faded to black, leaving only one question: who would be next to challenge humanity? And would Earth's forces be ready for the fight? Only time would tell. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear: Earth would never stop fighting.